So in our 7-step process, we've already come a long way to the 5th one, which is after we have done provided irrigation and manure as well, we need to make sure that weeds don't capture and start killing the crop that we want to cultivate. But I want you to have a lot of questions here. I'm pretty sure you already do. Some of them could be, what exactly is a weed? Yeah, can I look at a weed and really be able to say that's a weed and that's a plant? Yeah, will I be able to do that? Or if I do see a weed, how do I remove it? Or how do I make sure that weeds don't come in the first place? A lot of these questions, we'll answer them one by one by one. And the first one being, what is a weed? So weed is simply a kind of plant that we don't want on this crop. And that's it, right? It's a plant as well, except that we don't want it here. We have no use for it. So in short, a weed is just a plant that we don't like, right? Whereas a crop is a plant that we like because it's going to give us something, right? That's pretty much how we are. Animals that are really friendly with us, we like them. Domestic animals. If we really don't like an animal, we kind of banish them to the forests, don't we? So if you think about it, a weed is just a plant that we don't really like. And the problem though is, it's going to take all the nutrients that we supply to the plant and thereby make our crop not grow so well. So it's a problem. So next question, what is weeding, right? Weeding is a process by which you make sure that such weeds are removed even before planting. It's much better done even before planting a crop. While you're preparing soil itself, it's a very good time to weed the place. So when you have a piece of land, there is a very good chance there are some weeds growing on it randomly, right? Because wind carries a lot of random seeds and puts it in, and conditions favor it, they start growing. But you don't want them to be continuing to grow when you're growing your crop. So what do? While you're tilling itself, you can dig up all of these with their root and remove them and take them away. That's exactly how it's usually done, to make sure that almost all the weeds are removed from the field. It makes sense, does it not? Then what must make even more sense is, if it's already grown, if it's flowering, right, the weeds are all really mature and they're already flowering and the seeds are going to be falling into that, then if you remove those weeds, it still is a problem because the seeds are still there. It's almost as if you're sowing weeds in your own field. So it's very crucial that you remove those weeds even before they start maturing and flowering. So you kind of have to nip them in the bud, because once they become really big, they're going to end up dropping their seeds, and even if you remove them, the seeds are going to grow. So when you remove them with tilling, you have to make sure you do it before they start flowering. Now let's say there are weeds. How could you remove them? You can do it manually, right? It's called with a tool called a khurpi. So you start doing it manually. It's a pretty strenuous process. It takes a long time. And sometimes even seed drills are kind of equipped to do this, so that when they're putting their seeds, they also end up removing all the weeds. Now this is 2 ways of doing it. There's a third one, which is a pretty powerful one, and like anything powerful, it also has some risks involved, and that's a weedicide. Now weedicide, no, it's not we decide, it's a weedicide. Now if you're really wondering what it does, I'm pretty sure you already know this, right? Weedicide is probably going to be something that kills weeds, because the word CIDE, right? CIDE usually means what? A killing, right? Which is why, say, a fungicide kills fungus, right? So the word side is going to guide you that, okay, it's some killing, right? So it could come in very, very ways. Pesticides. All these are very commonly used, right? Whatever it kills comes before that, and side means it kills that. Great. So weedicide is going to kill the weeds, but not affect the crop, obviously, right? If you put something that's going to kill everything, it's a problem. So weedicides are going to be things that kill the weeds, but don't affect the crop in particular. But don't you have a question right now? If something is poisonous, don't you think it's a little poisonous to the crops and to the person who's putting it as well? If you're thinking on those lines, you're really, really smart, because it is true. If you take something that's mildly poisonous for something else, right, and if it's really poisonous for the weeds, it probably is a little poisonous for the person who's putting it as well. In this case, the farmer. Have you seen around your house people coming around and putting poisons to kill mosquitoes away? Have you seen how they are dressed? They're wearing a kerchief around their nose. They're doing a lot of things to make it so that they are not affected by the poison. Of course, it's not good enough to kill a human being immediately, but it's still a little harmful. In fact, even something like the mosquito repellents you put at home are mildly poisonous, which is why they kill the mosquitoes, but doesn't mean they don't completely harm you. They might be causing little harm, but that is still some kind of harm. So a lot of homes, they also put, to kill mosquitoes and to put them away, they use a high frequency sound, which kind of, so-called throws them around, makes the insects very uncomfortable. But a lot of times, high frequency sound also makes human beings a little uncomfortable. Like they start getting headaches, and they don't understand why they're getting headaches, because they can't consciously hear that sound. But the sound is somewhere. So that's how a lot of these repelling ideas also have a slight impact on the person who's trying to repel them in the first place. So we've got to be careful. So we take a weedicide, the farmer has to wear right kinds of tools. He has to make it so that he's not touching it directly. He's wearing gloves, he's wearing kerchiefs, he's wearing goggles to make sure that none of that weed is coming into direct contact with him. This could also though mean that some amount of pollution is happening. If the weedicide is getting washed into the water, so there is a problem there as well. So with this, in this module, what you've learned is something very simple. It's a very tiny module about how to protect our plants from weeds. You could either prevent or you could cure. And as always, prevention is better than trying to cure it. So what you've really learned here is that you have weeds and you want to protect your crop from the weeds. You can do that by prevention, like we told you, and that's by tilling it before it starts to flower. And you can do it manually or with a seed drill. Or you could do it after by putting fungicides and killing those weeds. But there are concerns about safety in that case. So now that you've done this, the next module is our party time, where you understand what harvesting is. So that's where the fruits of your labor are going to come. So in the next module, you're going to see how we're going to reap the benefits of all the work done in these 5 steps. If everything here works really well, you've done all of it right, you're going to be able to harvest it. You're going to see fields laden and mature crops. So you know that you're going to have a good harvest. So in the next module, it's time to party, and we'll see you.